Pero que se oiga bien y que se oiga fuerte, las y los mexicanos allá sostienen la economía de los Estados Unidos, en el campo, en los servicios, en todos lados.
It appears Mexico's popular President Claudia Sheinbaum had some choice words for President Trump as he embarks on his second week as president, wasting no time enforcing his strict deportations that I guess has come as a surprise to certain voters of Trump. You know, people who thought he was just bluffing when he said it every single rally, press conference, debate, tweeted about it relentlessly at every hour under the sun. So yeah.
This is so crazy that we voted for Trump. We trusted with the word that he promised us Latinos. This is crazy that starting next week, multiple cities will be hitting immigration. That is so crazy that multiple people are scared to go to work. Where I work at, a lot of Latinos did not go to work. And that's crazy because we have a living too. I hate that I voted for him. Now I'm so scared for my family and your family. Y'all, we need to come together and do something about this.
Well, the Mexican president used her time on stage at a recent panel discussion to remind Americans cheering on the mass deportation of undocumented people in the United States of the economic repercussions and sustainability that is provided via undocumented workers. Something Trump supporters have supposedly forgotten they care about after yelling about egg prices for 8 months. Yeah, you see this tale of two tweets? This is every single conservative. I swear to God, they're walking contradictions, and you will find previous tweets saying the complete contrary.
Pero que se oiga bien y que se oiga fuerte, las y los mexicanos allá sostienen la economía de los Estados Unidos, en el campo, en los servicios, en todos lados. Estados Unidos no sería lo que es si no fuera por un pueblo trabajador que se va allá a ayudar. Así que van a recibir siempre nuestro apoyo, nuestra solidaridad, y si regresan a México, regresan con nuestros brazos abiertos para darles todo lo que se merecen, porque son generosos, solidarios, como es el pueblo mixteco y todos los pueblos de nuestro país.
And if you're wondering how one comes to be surprised at the find out phase they willfully voted for, well, here's a little snippet from a literal Trump supporter before he took office.
If they let in hundreds or thousands of people who already have criminal records, if deporting them creates a mass deportation, I'm all for it.
But what if rounded up in all of that are people who work on a farm? They're doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. Does that worry you?
That wouldn't be fair. Of course, they need to make sure that they don't throw away, they don't kick out, they don't deport people that are family oriented.
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
And piggybacking on that, here's a snippet from a Trump-supporting business owner who voted for him, knowing full well that if undocumented workers were to be deported in his town, not only would his business be ruined, but the food supply in the town would literally cease to exist. But I guess possible starvation isn't enough to sway the vote when up against, well, we know.
What percentage of your workers are not U.S. born?
Probably half.
About half?
Yeah.
How many hours does this go on?
It's 24 hours a day. We could milk 8 hours a day, but it wouldn't be feasible or profitable for us to produce milk.
So you need workers like this year round?
Yes. Yes.
Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota, her farm is just a few miles away. This farmer who voted for her, who voted for Trump, who still supports them, doesn't believe that they would round up immigrants and ask them for their immigration status, because it's an open secret that farms in this state are held up by undocumented workers. Are you worried, like some of your other farmers, that if there were a mass roundup of undocumented migrants, that you might lose workers? You might not have enough workers.
Well, the question I asked, how are they going to do that? Within 2 days, we will not have food. There will not be food anywhere.
2 days?
Yes. That's why I predict nobody will be filling the shelves. Nobody will be producing food. If we once have to shut down and be gone, it's never coming back.
Does Governor Noem understand that?
I would think so.
You have a lot of faith that they're not going to do what they're saying.
That's pretty much what I'm thinking. So we have to trust in our officials that are put in place.
Anyway, as to what Sheinbaum is saying, it's factually correct, as MSNBC's economic expert Steve Ratner warned of in the lead up to the election. Undocumented workers are essentially vital to the state of the economy in America. So when mass deportations are partnered with sweeping tariffs, it does what?
So let's move to your second chart about what a Trump plan would actually do to the economy if implemented the way he's pitching it.
Yeah, so why are these economists so opposed to Trump's plan? Because the economic effects would be pretty terrible. This is a study done by Bloomberg Economics, and they found that Harris's plan did not have much change in either the GDP or inflation, which in a sense is a good thing at this point. But look at what Trump's plan would do. Trump's plan would cut the GDP by 8.9%. And let me put that in perspective for you. This is roughly twice the amount that the GDP went down during the financial crisis.
Wow.
So we would be looking at something between a recession and a depression. And interestingly, as I'm sure people know because we've talked about this many times, the tariffs would cause certainly a part of this. But the biggest cause actually of this drop are the mass deportations that Trump is talking about, because he would take huge pieces of our labor force out of the country, send them back to or send them somewhere else. And the result would be business wouldn't have labor. They wouldn't be able to produce things, and you'd have this enormous economic contraction. So this is something we've never seen before in terms of scoring a set of policy proposals from a presidential candidate. The other reason why Harris seems to be doing better or maybe doing better for her economic thoughts relative to Trump is maybe people are figuring out what's actually in these two plans. And one of the most important things in these two plans are the differences in their tax proposals. Harris's tax proposal would raise incomes for people at the bottom 20%, for people in the 20 to 40% percentile by fairly significant amounts. She would raise taxes for people at the higher incomes down here in the 99 to 100 and the 95 to 99. Trump does the opposite. He raises after-tax incomes for people at the highest incomes up here. And believe it or not, if you're at the bottom, Trump's tax plan would actually increase your taxes slightly. So maybe people are figuring out these kinds of differences and changing their view of her economic plan versus Trump's economic plan.
Raises prices. But again, I guess that was all smoke and mirrors when the masks are allowed to come off.
The decrees. It's important to refer to the decrees that President Donald Trump signed yesterday. Rest assured that we will always defend our sovereignty and our independence, and that we will always provide support to the Mexicans who are in the United States, to our fellow nationals, to our countrymen. Those two principles are very fundamental and essential. It's always important to keep a cool head. I'm going to refer to 5 topics. The emergency zone decree at the southern border is practically the same as the decree he signed during his first term. There was already a framework for action, a cooperation between the government of the United States and Mexico, back then under President Trump and President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. It's not something new. Second point, the declaration of the MPP, which they call Remain in Mexico, is the same decree that was made in 2018. What does this decree mean? That for people who are seeking asylum in the United States, the U.S. does not allow them to stay on its territory while they are asking for asylum. We have our own immigration policy. We are a humanitarian government. We are not going to leave people out in the open, and the repatriation to their countries is sought in case they are foreign. The third point, the topic of the Gulf of Mexico. They say they are going to call it the Gulf of America on their continental shelf. I mean, what corresponds to the continental shelf of the United States, they call it the Gulf of America. So it's about their continental shelf
For us and for the whole world, it is still called the Gulf of Mexico.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.